Hi again. I hope you all are ready for episode number 4. I'm really excited for this one. It is one of my dear and close friends, Becca. She is amazing. She is an herbalist and she creates plant medicine through tea and other herbal things that you can use. Her shop is called Tierra y Alma on Etsy, so definitely be sure to check it out. It's already in the show notes, so you best click that link and go see what products she has. It's awesome. As you all know, that I am a hormone and a life coach, so I really love to direct my clients to certain herb allies, and she does have this amazing period tea that I love and a digestion tea that I absolutely love. I literally drink the period tea every time that I'm bleeding, and I drink her digestion tea once a week, and it's really changed how my body is absorbing nutrients and all those good things. And you know how much I love my wellness stuff, so definitely check her out. Becca and I met a couple years ago now, and I've had the amazing opportunity to stay with her in LA for a week. We're actually going to be living a lot closer together and potential roommates later this year, so I'm so excited to introduce you guys to her and to hear this conversation and to share her beautiful wisdom and lens of the world. So peep her little video, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye!
Hi, I'm Rebecca, and I'm an herbalist and the owner of Tierra y Alma. And before you watch the interview that I had with Shay, I wanted to share a little meditation technique that I use to do part of my work, which is plant connection and plant communication for a more holistic herbalism approach. And the flower that we'll be connecting to today is called Blue Lotus. And Blue Lotus is highly known for their divination work, accessing higher realms of consciousness, activating the third eye, so they're really great for meditation and dream work. So if you can go ahead and close your eyes and begin to take a few deep breaths. I'll lead you through a very short, minimal practice from what I normally do. You can go ahead and begin to ground down. You can do this by imagining a grounding cord right at your root chakra or the base of your tailbone and releasing it down to the center of the earth. Now bring your attention to your third eye, just right between your brows. Begin to visualize Blue Lotus, and if you haven't seen Blue Lotus before, you can go ahead and pause the video and look up a photo of them. Begin to visualize them in front of you. Now bring Blue Lotus still through your third eye, above your head, right at your crown chakra, and allow them to sit there for a bit. Imagine your crown opening up to receive the medicine that Blue Lotus wants to share with you, and whatever comes up for you, sensation, words, images, that's the medicine that's meant for you. We all experience the medicine from plant spirits individually. Now you can pause the video and sit here for as long as you'd like, or take this practice with you for another time. You can go ahead and move Blue Lotus away from your crown and imagine them grounding back to the earth. And imagine a beautiful big ball of light right above your head. And bring that ball of light into your body and move it down all the way to your feet, resetting your energy. And that's it. And this is something that you can do with any flower, anytime. So I hope that you were able to receive some sort of medicine in this moment. And I hope you enjoy the interview that Shay and I had, the conversation we shared, and the words that we exchanged.
Okay. Hi, Becca. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited for today's conversation to have you as well. How are you today?
I'm
good. I was a little nervous, but then, I mean, you're my friend. So we're just basically having a conversation like we normally have all the time, which are pretty great conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get to share this wisdom with all of the people who are going to be watching this out in the universe.
Yeah.
I figured we could start with just letting you introduce who you are. What are some things you like to do for fun? And then we can go from there with the conversation.
Okay, awesome. So my name is Rebecca, and I currently live in Los Angeles, and I was born and raised, well, the San Fernando Valley, but born and raised here. And I've been a SoCal girl for most of my life, really. I think I'm a diehard California girl, but I do love to travel and adventure. Yeah. I do love to travel and adventure out. And I still have this like thing about claiming this name of being an herbalist, but I'm an herbalist in training. I think I'll always be an herbalist in training. There's just so much to learn. But even more, I'm an intuitive herbalism. I'm intuitive herbalist, meaning that I connect to the plants and the medicine on an energetic and spiritual level to co-create products and medicine to offer to people for the body and for the soul. So that's something that I'm doing right now. And I just currently launched my own herbalism apothecary, little herbalist apothecary business. Yeah. And it's been, yeah, you've got to try some of the products and support it. So I really appreciate that. But that's just been what I'm doing right now and the path that I'm on, which is the path that I truly feel aligned with. And as things that I like to do for fun, gardening, that's my medicine, just being out in nature, my hands in the dirt, in the soil. And what else? Reading. I love to constantly learn and just absorb knowledge and information. So I feel like some people won't consider that fun, but I do.
I do too.
And yeah, I think people do. It's considered a fun hobby. And really do love cooking and baking, and those are things that I've just been kind of trying to do more intentionally and lovingly as well. And just, yeah, being out in nature, anytime that I can get out in nature and just be with the earth, and anytime that I can just really work with my hands and create little things, whether it's like working with floral arrangements or creating my teas or just doing any kind of DIY projects. It just brings me so much joy. So yeah, and just like being with my people, my tribe. That's just like, I consider fun. Yeah.
I agree. I love it. And considering that you are an intuitive herbalist, which is not something that I feel in our common world, like the people will be like, what is that? I like to bring the conversation of just like life and success into these interviews because I feel like there's just so many different perspectives on what life and success can look like. So in your own words, through your own path and your own like knowledge and experience of the world around you, how would you say your path to life and success has changed in coming to what you're doing now?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's such a good question, because I definitely have looked back on my life and I've thought, I guess like 18-year-old Becca or 20-year-old Becca, the way I had this image of success in my head at that time in life is so different to what I consider life and success now. And I am nowhere where I thought I would be when I was 18, where I am now. I'm 25, I'm turning 26 this year. Not at all in that path, which was to me working at a corporate job or even being a therapist and being kind of living in this like 9 to 5 most of people in society do. But I think in the simplest forms, to me, like success in life is really just being happy. So I don't think that success has to be this big grand thing that we make it out to be. I mean, if you want to be a millionaire, I mean, I want to be a millionaire. You want to be a millionaire and like be able to share your knowledge and your wealth, which are things that I definitely want to do. And I definitely want to be able to bring everything that I've learned and created into so many communities and into so many audiences. That's part of my success. But I don't think that's the identifying part of what I consider success, because I think success can also come in little ways. So just anything that I'm doing that is just really bringing me happiness and also allowing me to bring happiness and joy and expansion to other people, to me, that's success. Anywhere that I feel like I'm being lit up, that's truly what I think life is about, like to be lit up, because what's the point of living this mundane existence when you have all these years here on earth? And I mean, I like, some people really are happy just working a corporate job or working this 9 to 5 regular life, and that's totally okay. If that's what makes you happy and that's what lights you up, by all means, do it. So it doesn't have to look a certain way. To me, just success is like if I'm happy and if I'm truly being lit up by the experiences that I'm having, the work that I'm doing, the people that I'm surrounded by, then I feel like I'm successful and I'm abundant. I think success does equate to abundance. So yeah, just whatever lights me up is part of success. And that's, I think, where I am now. Considering 2020 was, it was 2020.
Yes.
It was 2020. And it would forever go down in history as just like, you don't need to say anything about 2020, just say the year. But considering all that has happened, I have never felt happier in my life. And I'm still trying to be okay with saying that and not feel guilty around people when I say that, because I did so much this year or last year where I just completely jumped in headfirst into things that lit me up and made me so happy. And it allowed me to create my own business, and the start of my own business, really. I'm really just started, but it was the first step to be where I'm at. And I had this moment when I was creating the teas and putting the orders out and doing everything by myself. I birthed this beautiful creation, most of it by myself, with the support of some friends and family. But I had this moment where I was just like, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. And I've never had that. Never in my life have I had this just like blissful moment where I was like, this is what it feels like to know you're going to be doing something. It's probably going to look different, but the essence of it, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. And that feels pretty successful to me. So.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I think that's such a gift. And to be like on this path where you're just like, wow, like this is what I want to do. And this just feels right, I think is just so epic. And I'm so like happy for you and been witnessing you in this birthing process as well. And I'm so excited to see where it goes. You What does being lit up mean to you? I love that you say that, because I so agree. It's just like, to me, it's like igniting a fire within is how I say it. But like, how did you know to follow like this path that like lit you up versus maybe what you went to school for? Because we live in a society that's just like, you do this, you go to school, that's what you do, and that's it. Like, it's like this path that is laid out for you. And like you said, there's no one way to arrive to success, and maybe you change your mind. Like, I for sure changed my mind from college to now. I'm on a completely different track record. So following what lights you up, what pieces of advice or nuggets of wisdom would you say in terms of that umbrella and this path?
That's such a good question. So one thing I would say, there's two things, but the first I think I would say is anything that literally sparks an interest, I think is part of the path that we're intended to follow. I don't want to say supposed to, because I think things are so flexible and anything changes in this like universe. So that this path that like you're carving out or that you want to carve out for yourself, literally anything that just sparks interest is going to be part of creating this elevated and expanded self. And when you're elevated and expanded and you really do feel like this infinite being, eternal being, like you're just always lit up. You're just like living from the heart and living from the soul. So for me, like, yeah, I went to like we both went to school for very specific things. I went to school for psychology, and that alone was like something that led me to where I am now, because I wanted to be a healer. I wanted to help people. I wanted to be a mental health therapist. And then eventually I got led down the track to working at a flower shop. And that's like, that's not at all connected, but it's because I loved nature. I loved working with plants. I loved the energy that it brought into my life. And it was one of the happiest moments of my life, was working at a flower shop, because it brought me so much joy, and I brought so much joy to other people and the creations that I put together. And then look where I am now. Like, I'm still working with plants and I'm still creating with plants. So it's just like anything that just was caught my interest and made me excited to think like, I can do this. Like, I want to try this. Well, why not? And to jump into it was what I think is being lit up is like following a curiosity. Anything that you're curious about is going to bring you some sort of like, just like a little bit of excitement. And I think it's important to follow that. And another thing is listening to your body. So yeah, I think this idea of like the body is just a vessel is for me kind of antiquated, because I think the body is more than just a vessel. Our soul, like, I'm going to speak for myself, but like my soul lives within my body. So I really do think my soul communicates through my body. So for me, when I first wasn't like very tapped into like, I guess, my soul and my essence, I experienced a lot in my body. I mean, just emotions, so many like emotions and sensations would come up in my body for like when I was doing something that I didn't enjoy, or when I was doing something that I loved so much, certain parts of my body would bring up sensations. So I think that is key, is just like, even when you imagine yourself in a specific part of your life or following a specific path, feel how your body reacts, because that's a huge tell sign for me personally. Bodies and sensation communicate so much about the path that you want to follow. But yeah.
My goodness, that's so true. The body contains a lot of wisdom for sure. And I definitely used to be disconnected from my soul too. Like, I truly do believe that like we are a soul inside of a body, not a body with a soul. Like I think we choose these physical forms, but our soul carries all these beautiful, profound lessons. And like I know what it looked like for me, like tuning into my own soul and body was a little bit like learning my intuition and then learning my body's rhythms. But for someone who's maybe watching this and they're just like, oh, like, okay, that sounds beautiful, but how do I fucking do that? How did you start to like listen to, the way I see it, I don't know if you see it this way, is like listen to your intuition and your body's wisdom versus the mind chatter?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Yeah, I feel like even I'm still discerning between the two. Yeah, definitely simplest form. Yeah, when I'm not sure, like, okay, is this my mind's chatter or is this me, like my soul communicating? I do kind of just go into my own body. So something that, if it's on the spot, like, you know, something, an experience happens, a situation kind of triggers you, or like you need to make a decision on the spot, that's when it can be a little challenging, of course. But at the same time, I think even when you're in situations under pressure like that, your body is so much louder. Your body speaks so much louder, because to you or to your body, you're being threatened in a way, because like you're in a situation of pressure. So to make a decision. So I really try to listen to key centers of like in my body. So for me, I mean, it's different for everyone. Like my solar plexus, my heart, my chest area is a big part where my body just like kind of just like when something doesn't feel right, it tightens and I feel like I contract. So kind of, and this is, I think, a daily practice where you just really tune in to what you're feeling in the present when you wake up in the morning and you move through your routine, whatever it may be. Really be aware of, okay, how does my body feel when I'm just being? Nothing is coming at me, nothing is triggering me. this is the way I feel. And then when you go through your day and you have certain experiences, whether you're speaking to someone that triggers you, or you're doing work that you don't enjoy, or anything like that, notice again where you transition from your body, like within where you were in the state of just like being to a state of being triggered or being reactive. So I think presence is a really big thing, which is, I know it's not as easy as it sounds, but I think meditation has also been a really big thing for me in realizing when my mind is just going and going and going and it's not beneficial for me. So being able to sit down and just drop in. And the biggest step that I took when it came to meditation was body focus. So focusing on my breath, focusing on just sensations in different parts of my body. Literally, that takes you out of your mind and that brings you into your body. And I'm not going to say like it's just going to happen over a day. I mean, I've been meditating since I was in college. So, and it wasn't easy when I started, but now I can really discern more. It's just like, well, what is my body telling me? Because that is where the real knowledge lies. And I do still get caught up in my head, where the chatter is continuous, but I think meditation has been a really big thing to kind of allow me to like first steps to allow me to kind of step away from my mind chatter a little bit and come into my body and listen to the intuition. And I really invite people to notice which parts of your body react when certain situations come up, because that's your tell sign. And it's different for everyone. So just presence and your kind of bodily reactions is a big one.
Yeah, I think that is huge. And I love how you just express that it's some days you're on a roll, other days you're not. And I feel like that is a part of just our life experience and being human. And yeah, it's just like the very human aspects of us. And I think a lot of the work that I do and a lot of the work that you do at the root of it is just like allowing your human to be expressed and felt and seen in all emotions, both the happiness and the sadness, the pain and the anger, whatever it is. And so, like, in your own words and going through your own life experiences, how do you define being human?
All the good questions, all the deep questions. I think you just described it. I've always, or more when I kind of started coming down this path of just like, I guess, awakening or just being back in like my true essence, experience, just having experiences, I think is the big, just I think for me, the biggest part of being human. And it goes back to what I was saying, like anything that interests you, go experience it, because why not? But at the same time, of course, we have these experiences that can be traumatizing, that can be really painful, and they make us wish like, why the hell did I come down to earth to like experience this in a body? But it's because there's always some sort of medicine, even if we don't see it in that moment. If it takes us a year or two, it took me years to see like the true medicine and some of my childhood experiences and my depression that I experienced when I was younger. It took me years to really be like, I'm grateful for that. It sucked in the moment and it sucked 2 years after or like months after, but then to be where I am now, I'm like, okay, wow, that was an experience that added so much strength and resilience to who I am now. So I personally don't think that our souls or the universe will ever guide us down a certain experience that we cannot handle, and that they know that we won't receive some sort of medicine from. I do not think that the universe, greater beings, the energies around us will ever do that to us, because I don't think that the universe wants to harm us and our souls don't want to harm us. So yes, it's so hard to see that when you're in it. But I truly do think the big part of being human is just experience and feel as much as you can, because that's what humans do. Souls don't necessarily feel, you know, I think from what I've learned, at least, from some of my teachers, is that we don't, as souls, you can't necessarily feel, like you have all the wisdom and the knowledge that you obtain, but you can't feel it. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense to some people. So that's why we come in to be human, is so we have these human like body suits to experience all of these things and to make us feel like alive.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. I think that's really like beautiful too, is like if we wanted to go on like a more esoteric conversation of just like our souls, they don't feel, they don't eat, like when you watch stuff like ghosts, like it goes right through them.
We talked about that the other time we were here. We were like, they don't eat food. Like, we love food. Like their food is love or whatever, but like, which is great, but we get to eat like the physical food.
Exactly. Like it's just like in the movie Soul too. It's like, and it's such a gift, is like being in this human experience is like, yeah, even though we experience the bad emotions, it's like we can't have that without like that intense amount of joy and love and pleasure and happiness. And like how beautiful is it that we get to experience all of that, even though like, yeah, sometimes it fucking sucks being human. It's just like, why? And I call our experiences, some of them like earthquake moments, where just like earthquake
I like
wake
that.
up or to activate you into a new path or break something in your life so you learn to heal. And I believe these earthquake moments really do provide medicine, just like you said. And for those that are like watching and listening into this conversation, I like to expand them because maybe they're experiencing their own earthquake moments. So in your life thus far, what is one of those earthquake moments that you can think of that provided you like
Mm.
the most expansive thing on the other side once you got out of it?
For sure, it's been my experience with depression, and it was specifically my senior year in college was 2017, and then really the biggest like rock bottom moment was after I graduated college, and beginning of 2018 was when it just was like, you can't get distracted now. It's like I held it together because I was in college. And then after I graduated, like the universe and my soul were like, all right, let's just get it done. You need to experience this, because I had been repressing so much of it for most of my life. So I really had a moment where I couldn't do it anymore. And internally, I was so just in so much turmoil and so much sadness and disconnect. But externally, I had it seemingly together to other people, where because I learned how to fake it, because that's kind of what you do in this world, in this society. You fake it so you don't trigger anyone else, you don't make anyone else uncomfortable, and then you repress everything because no one teaches you how to deal with this stuff. So you just repress it. And externally, people, when I had been really honest about my mental health, because I'm really open about these experiences now and I invite these conversations so it can spread awareness. When I had shared with people that I was experiencing this depression, people were shocked because they thought, I mean, you look so happy. I was working at a nonprofit organization. I had just moved to a new city, to San Diego. I was with a partner for 4 years. It looked wonderful, and it looked like I was going down this great path. And I mean, I would come home from work, if not every day, every other day, I would come home from work, get into bed, and just cry my eyes out, because there was something, and that something was the true disconnect from my essence, my soul, and living the life that I truly wanted. I remember there was a moment where I think I was watching a Brené Brown talk, her talk that went viral about vulnerability before she blew up. And in that moment, I just burst into tears. And I remember saying, I need to change something in my life. And there has to be more. Like, this cannot be it. I cannot live like in this just deep sadness and hurt. And I completely reset on my life, and that included me moving back home to LA, moving in with my parents, breaking up with my partner at the time for 4 years, and just completely restarting, going to therapy. I was going to therapy consistently. And because of that, because I had that rock bottom moment, I was able to be cracked open to go down this path of like my spirituality, to go down this path that makes me happy, of like tapping into like all of the magic and all of the woo that's around me. And I remember the year that I got out, I really felt that being lifted, that darkness. That was one of the happiest years of my life. I was, I think, 24, and it was insane just how much of a shift I made, because I decided to choose myself. I decided to no longer give my energy. I remember I had promised myself after I quit, truly after I quit one of the corporate job that I was working with a few years back, after I quit, I had decided I'm never going to work a job that I don't enjoy. I'm never going to give my energy to people that don't reciprocate. And I'm just going to I'm going to choose to do what makes me happy. And it sounds so simple, but that was a breakthrough I had when I was 23, 23. And I was living all of my life doing the opposite, doing things because I needed to fit the box and I needed to do what everyone else was doing, go to college and study the typical education, live a traditional life. And when I look back, if I hadn't had my depression and my severe anxiety, I would still be living this very traditional, complacent, and conventional life. Yeah. And maybe I probably would be depressed, but even if I wasn't conscious of it, I know my soul would be hurting so much. Even if I wasn't conscious about it, even if I didn't have an awakening, I know my soul would be just hurting. And I can't even imagine being in that. So really, I think for anyone experiencing this, it's just, I think the first step is just doing something, which is always so hard. But it's just like, it goes back to being in the human, where it's just like, feel that sadness, feel it, and really ask yourself, do you want to keep feeling this for the rest of your life? Because I could not come home every single day and cry again and literally wake up the next morning with red, puffy eyes and then have to go to work.
Yeah.
So I think it starts with that, just feeling it so deeply, and then really stepping back and wondering, okay, is this what I want to feel for the rest of my life?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. Thank you for sharing with us. And I'm sure for like anyone that watching, it'll resonate. And especially just like the whole idea of needing to suppress your feelings. And from the outside looking in, it looks like, oh, this person's living this grand life. And it's just like, no, I'm not. I completely resonate with that as well. And so I definitely invite anyone who's watching this and hearing this story, if like your answer, any part of you is like, no, this is not how I want to feel, just like one foot in front of the other every single day and choose a different path, and know that it's so human and so okay where you are. But Becca is living proof that you can come out on the other side of it, and we're here if you want to have that conversation with us too. Okay, I ask a lot of deep questions, the Pisces in me, but
well, I'm triple Cancer. Yeah. I'm here for all the deep questions.
Water.
All the water, all the emotions.
But I want to make, it's like, I like to make it a fun thing too.
Of course.
I feel like, yeah, no one talks about this stuff. So, but in all of that, I know that you've gained so much wisdom in your path. And so I'm curious to know, for those that are watching, like, what are some of your favorite tools or rituals that help bring you back to your soul's essence?
Just, I feel like little things, literally just when I go out into the garden and I'm just like sitting in the sun, really just like when I think I'm fortunate I live in LA. I can just step out in my backyard and just look up and feel immersed in the sun. But little things. I think nature has always been, even if people aren't like nature people, I think that it's so important for us to find ways to connect to the earth in any way. I recently I recently learned that there's so much energy in the earth's soil that allows us to feel bonded to the earth. Like oxytocin. So when you connect to the earth and you connect to the soil, oxytocin is released. And that is the same chemical that is released when a mother is bonded to their child. That's the same chemical that's released when two lovers and two partners are bonded together, and having that experience. So for us to have that same chemical to be released with the earth is when we connect to the earth, I think says so much about our makeup and about what brings us back into just like true joy and essence. So if anyone can find a way to connect to nature, if you have a plant in your house, just bring it in, just connect with it. And then what else? Movement. Movement has been medicine. And I think in so many cultures, like ancient cultures, movement has been a big part of healing and medicine and releasing energy. So this year specifically, I think it's been hard for a lot. 2020, not this year anymore. I know.
So weird.
2020
over, but it's still.
I feel like the residual energy is still like there. That's why. So 2020, it's been difficult because a lot of the spaces that we looked to for movement were shut down, and I think that says a lot about the priorities of our modern world. We're shutting down spaces where people are going to feel good, to literally release energy and to create serotonin and dopamine and all these things, and that brings us joy and that brings us so much healing, and to also connect in community, because a lot of these spaces where we go and work out are communal spaces. So movement is medicine. So in any little way for me, just like moving my body, whether it's just like 10 minutes of yoga or 30 minutes or just dancing. I love to dance by myself in my room now, and I used to not do that at all, but holy crap, like the amount of energy that's just moved in your body when you like move your hips or intuitively move your body is just incredible. So movement, and also community. Again, something that's been kind of stripped away in 2020. But we've prevailed and we've found ways all to stay connected. Like online communities have been popping up everywhere, and people have become really creative with connecting with each other. And I know at the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of people really got hit with depression because they were isolated, they were living in their own apartments, and I'm grateful that I was living at home, so I was able to at least interact with my family. But I was also grateful that I already had a really strong online community, you being one of those people, that I just felt so much comfort, and I just still felt so connected. And to be able to, all of us were all going through the same thing at the same time. So to be able to like become literally one in that moment with community was amazing. So community has been something huge for me. So pandemic or not, like having people, having those family, really soul family is a really big thing to like, that lights me up again. And that reminds me like, I'm me, and this is the me that I want to share with these people. So yeah, very like ancient things. I feel like community, movement, and the earth are very like old, like, ancient ways. Tribal, like how we used to live in hunter-gatherer ways of life.
That's the way of living.
And I always say like, damn, can we just go back to hunter-gathering? Like,
sure, no one would be opposed to having all their friends in one community, share a garden, and cook together and party together. And
how does that not sound fun? I don't know.
Like in the modern day world, like we could just choose these circular hubs. Who knows?
And those are popping up. I mean,
yeah,
living spaces, like, things like that, where people live on land in Hawaii. I mean, even here, there's like places like in probably Malibu
Probably. That's why we're moving.
And yeah, that's where we're aiming to go. But like those things are existing. And I think as we go through life a little bit more, those things are going to be like those kinds of communal spaces are going to be popping up even more because it's obvious that I think we crave them. So
I totally agree. Even like birthing centers are now, like women are having babies at birthing centers to get a more natural way, and it's just we are going where it's modern, but it's almost like going back to tribal times. And I think 2020 and maybe this whole decade is going to just show us how much community is going to be and just like how humanity itself wants to connect. So I totally agree with all of that. And my next question is for those that are watching, and I know that you felt like this also, like if you're either at the beginning of your healing journey or at the beginning of the steps of being like, okay, I want to recreate my life and start living my dream life, it can feel isolating and lonely until you start to meet other people who are like-minded or understand the same, like, I don't fucking know what's going on, but I know I want more. And where I was isn't what I want anymore. What pieces of advice would you give to those who are just starting to create their dream life and dream friendships?
oof. I think I'll speak separately to the both. Like they go together, but they're different at the same time. I think first off, I would say just it doesn't have to be something big and grand. Like you can start small. I'm like by all means, if someone is like, I don't want to work my corporate job, it's like that scene in Soul where it's just like what am I doing with my life? Yeah, and you don't want to work your corporate job, you want to quit, go travel the world or start your own business, by all means, you're already on it, go do it. But for those that are still kind of like have that fear of just like what will happen if I make this switch in whatever part of my life, I think simply just starting small. Like for me, my personal development journeys like started when I started doing yoga in college, and I didn't know it was gonna lead me to like if you practice yoga deeply, you know, like it's one of the most spiritual practices you can integrate in your life. But I just had an interest and I just went and followed it. I had that spark and curiosity and I did it. So, and it led me to like where I am now. And I ended up graduating for my yoga teacher training. So it's like, it doesn't have to be anything big. It doesn't have to be a big shift. If you need to do something little, just like if personal development for you looks like starting meditation for 5 minutes a day, that's amazing. That will one day lead to 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And in that moment, like you're doing so much expansion and so much, I think, reprogramming of your subconscious mind simply just by like meditating, and you're gaining a newer perspective. So yeah, just start small, whatever in any way that feels like you can shift just a little bit differently from what you were doing the day before. Then just little steps. It doesn't have to be some grand, big transformation in one day. And on top of that, it's definitely not going to happen on one day. So I think that's another truth that needs to be spoken. It's like this personal development stuff. I think people think, and I fell into this for a little bit. You read all the books and then you're like, yeah, okay, I read all the books. Now it's going to happen. It's just like, no, it's not going to happen, first of all, because you have to actually do the work that these books are saying. And just because you have the knowledge, so what? You're not going to create anything if you don't do the work. So it takes time. And I think that's just like a really hard truth. And like, I think any kind of like person or like guru that like, or like anyone who's trying to sell something that says like, this will transform your life in like a week, I think that's like really hard to promise. I think it's like, they will give you the tools that you need in that 1 week, but then you have to go and use them. Because if not, then you just absorbed a bunch of information like in college. You just 1 year and out the other, and you don't do anything with it. So it takes time. And with that time, I think it's so important to be very loving with yourself, very compassionate, because even if you have this big support system and this group of friends and family who are there with you, it's amazing. It helps a lot. At the end of the day, you're the only person who's really kind of gonna support you through all of it. Who you're the only person who truly knows how it feels, what you are experiencing in that specific moment. So like you have to have so much love, so much compassion for yourself. And I think that just starts with awareness of like how you interact with yourself. And as for the friend thing, yeah, that's been, you can relate to this. Like once you start on this development journey, you will notice a lot from your life kind of starts to fall away. And that includes a lot of people and a lot of relationships and connections that you've had because they are part of an old self. And you are stepping into your true self. So I think it's like the old self is more like this disguised self, and this true self like wants different things most likely because you're stepping away from the programming that you've had for most of your life, and you've attracted certain people because of that programming. And it was a little lonely for me for a good, like, I don't know, 2 years, where I started really feeling like, oh man, I don't really connect with a lot of people around me anymore in my old friend group. And I can honestly say, like, I'm not too close to most of these people, most really anymore. And it was sad and lonely. I cried about it for a little bit, but then I realized, like, damn, I had so much time to get to know me. I think that is something that we don't do when we distract ourselves with like all these other people, and when we distract ourselves with romantic relationships and all these things. You don't get to know who you are and like in your truest essence. And now I can really say, like, I know me. Yeah. And I'm gonna keep learning about myself, of course. Like, but, yeah, always. But like, I know my like bad habits. I know my shadows, and which are still coming up. But like, and I know my strengths. I know like what makes me happy and what lights me up. And I don't think I would have had that if I didn't have this time of like solitude, not even loneliness, but like solitude, this time to be alone, and just connect. So I would say, like, embrace that. Like, why wouldn't you want to get to know yourself? Like, you're the person you spend the most time with. And I think sometimes we forget to think of ourselves as like a person because we're so used to hanging out with others. Yeah. But, like, if you ever have a moment when you're like sitting in front of the mirror, if you're just doing like eye work or whatever, and you're just like, holy shit, like that's
a being.
person, like and it's just every time you just get chills when you have that realization. You're like, oh my God,
yeah,
you're a person, and I spend the most time with you, and I love you. It's like
it's so weird, but like
so weird.
Yeah, you realize like I'm in a relationship with myself.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you want to know yourself? Like, that's so true. When you're like in a relationship with another person, you're dating someone, you like want to know everything about them. You become like obsessed with wanting to get to know them. It's just like, why wouldn't you do that with yourself? You are in a relationship with yourself. So
that's beautiful.
True.
I had a moment like that in 2020 where I was just like, I like you. Like, you know, like in the mirror to myself, I was like, you're pretty fucking funny sometimes. And I was like, wow, I don't think there's ever been like a moment in my life where I genuinely could like look at myself in the mirror and be like, I like the person that's staring back at me. And I think that is a part of this evolution of just like the soul's journey. And I think you just like hit it on the head so well in that. And it's so amazing and so exciting. And I hope everyone, I'm sure they can feel this expansive energy in this conversation through it, because it's not always the prettiest going down this path and like looking at your shit, but like coming on the other side, it's fun. It's fun and great. And to love yourself is one of the greatest gifts. I know that you're like me and you love to learn and you love mantras and affirmations. So what's a current favorite like mantra or affirmation that you've been working with?
I like that. One that kind of came back around actually, which I found, I think I shared it with you, in one of our group chats, but it was when I was manifesting my move to Barcelona in 2019. I was just making vision boards and all these things, and someone in a grocery store, was just going back and forth with the decision if I should move or not, and the ego and the fear came up. Someone at the grocery store at Whole Foods was like, he turned around for some reason. What he does is he goes around and gives like people, just hands them little quotes with papers with quotes that he comes up with, and he just like will turn around and hand it. He's like, here, maybe you'll want this. So that's what he does, and he happened, thankfully, bless his soul, to be standing in front of me in the line, and the quote that had said was endless courage. And I was like, that's what I needed in that moment. I was like, thank you. You actually this was a sign. And I think I'm coming back to that again. I found that that vision board, and I had put the quote on there, and it came up for me again. And I think we all need to have a little bit of endless courage, just to kind of combat the ego a little bit, because the ego is obviously there to protect us. But we're not being chased by a tiger every day like the way our ancestors were, to like have the ego to protect us and from taking risks. But I think endless courage is like what we need to take those healthy risks. And that's something I've been trying to remember again, because even when I'm just like being like, should I release this new product? I don't know if it's good enough. I don't know if I should do like all the things. And I'm just like, wait, just have a little bit of courage and just do it. And you fail, but that's still medicine in a way, because you learn. So this courage has been, I think, what I want to continue having for the rest of my life. So
I like that one. Yeah, and failure is only feedback is always what I tell myself.
That's a good one. Yeah, you've said that one.
What about a current favorite mentor or mentors? Because I know I have so many.
Yeah. I just like love to learn. So.
Yeah.
So a few. Okay, I'm not gonna get too many. Just a few. So one of them is her name is Adriana Ayales, and she is the owner of this herbal apothecary called oh my gosh, I'm like Uman Mundi. And she offered finally a course and about indigenous curandismo. So really this is like the indigenous healing with plants, and done through Latin American cultures and indigenous cultures that have been practiced since the beginning of time, like the Mayans and the Aztecs and Inca. And this is stuff that I geek out on and so much, because it merges the medicine, like physical medicine, with the spiritual medicine of plants. And that is what I strive to do. So right now, when I first ever found her on Instagram, she's in Costa Rica, and she brings the modern and the ancient worlds together so beautifully. And I think that's kind of what we need now, going back to like what we were talking about, tribes, bringing the ancient into with a modern reality in a way. So she's someone that I like loved learning from. I'm taking one of her courses right now. And another one is Emily Hamilton, and she was my I guess like psychic teacher, and she's the one who really introduced me to like this idea of psychic herbalism, where it's just like, yeah, just talk to the plants and connect to them energetically. And again, this is something that ancient cultures have been doing. These indigenous cultures already did this. They've been doing just connecting to the spirits of the plants and receiving the medicines of the plants and knowing how to use them. So she kind of taught me how to do it in a more modern way. And I brought in a lot of what she taught me into my business. So she's someone that she has her own like psychic Institute of Psychic Herbalism. So that's what she calls it, psychic herbalism. And yeah, those are two of my favorite right now.
Love that. That sounds so interesting. And what is a current favorite like learning rabbit hole right
now? Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. I would say I'm a manifesting generator, so I feel like
Yeah.
when I find something that I'm interested in, I'm just like, go, go, go. And then I leave it and then I go to the other one. So herbalism always. But then something that I've been trying to learn more about has been like space and time travel and all of these things that are more like in the realm of like, I guess when I was younger, I always like wanted to learn about some of these things like physics and space and energy and like all of these things, but I always thought like I wasn't smart enough to like understand these things. But I don't know, recently this idea of just like time and relativity of time and the theory of that and all of these other things that seems so difficult to grasp have been something that have been just grasp my interest so much. And I really think it's because I've also like had a more interest in like space and aliens and all these like,
Yeah.
those are things that I've just been so interested in, but at the same time I pull myself away from it because I feel like once you go in it and then you're like exposed to it, you're just like you can't unsee it, you can't unlearn it. And I think it really affects the way you live your life. So I've just been doing it like in doses, but that's been my most recent thing where I'm like, I want to learn more about all of that.
Yeah, the quantum world is what
Quantum world.
it's so fascinating. I had taken like physics in college, and we talk about the quantum field just a tiny bit, and it's just so wild that like we are literally just like vibrating particles when it really comes down to the science of it. But
Yeah.
it's so hard to conceptualize because it's not talked about enough, but that's a fun rabbit hole for sure.
Yeah, and the quantum field and all of the energetics that is so well applied to the stuff we like to do when it comes to like the spiritual world of it, because the spiritual world also just believes we're all energy and we're just all
Exactly.
around. So it's like quantum and that like
Behind it.
that's science behind it. So I'm diving into that a little bit more.
So fun. I love it. Well, I hope everyone else also dives into the quantum world.
So much work can be done in the quantum field.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being here and having this conversation and sharing your light and energy with us today. For those that want to connect with you deeper, like where can they find you? What offerings would you like to expose them to?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here and just allowing me to have these expansive conversations with you. But you can find me on Instagram. Right now, my username is because it's Becca. And you can also find my Etsy store, Tierra y Alma, which is my intuitive herbalism apothecary. It's Tierra y Alma on Etsy.com. So yeah, if you want to stay tuned into that, it'll be expanding.
Yay, yeah, highly recommend buying her products, everyone. It's absolutely amazing. They smell so yummy and they're infused with love. Thank you again so much for being here. Thank you everyone who tuned in. All of this information will be in the show notes. Be sure to follow Becca and we will see you soon. Bye.